really are happy about that. That's why we have to take advantage of this time and make sure that we do the right moves so that we put in place what we need to keep us going, because this is one fight that we've got to win. And we know what to do. We know what to do. So I'm ready from one end of this state to the next.
I like that fight in our president. I love it. God knows I love it.
My goodness, I wake up every morning ready, not only for the fight, but ready for the court fight. Ready to go to court every day I wake up.
And that's going to be something, because I've never seen a state where the governor not only controls the legislature, but he also controls the courts.
Right.
And I've seen judges too scared to make a move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've never thought in my lifetime I would see judges who were afraid to rule and rule against the and every JNC is his handpicked people.
Yes.
And he's stacking the Broward bench. He gave us, I think he gave us two. He gave us Phoebe, and was Cal a DeSatan appointment? I have to check.
No, he was before that.
Okay, so I know Phoebe got in, but he's not giving us Black judges down here. And as Madam President Ellison always says, elections have consequences.
Oh yes.
But I don't know what we need to do to wake our people up, to get them to realize that it's critical now.
Yes, yes. Well, we're going to have to do that. We just got to do it. We got to find a way for it. Use every strategy we know. We know some strategies. It's just a matter of us doing them.
Amen.
All of them are right there, approved actions on our part. So just got to do it.
I'm praying.
Yes. Yes. Yes, we are too. Praying and working. Because after you pray, then you must get up and do the work that you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. My phone.
Chef Jones is trying to get on.
Okay. I was listening at Judge Holmes and just thinking, I've been churching it all day. And we have to remember when Nehemiah was rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, Ezra had already reestablished the word. The wall was for protection. And right now we know that our democracy is the wall that we need to rebuild. Nehemiah had to work as well as have a weapon in one hand to fight Sanballat, Tobias, and Gresham. He continued to have to do both at the same time, work and strategize. But the key thing, when you look at the text, it says, and the people had a willingness to work. So those people that have a willingness to work, we have to take those people and move forward. We can't continue to be complacent and just talking to people that's not moving, that's not willing to work. We have to engage those that are willing to work and move forward to rebuild the walls in our community, because it is so serious. And we see this play out all the time. And it was really Tobias, Sanballat, and Gresham was very upset because their power structures were being threatened. So they didn't want those walls rebuilt because it would lessen their power. And they was more in tune with themselves and parochial self-interest than the people. So I believe that we have a remnant that's willing to work. And with all of you all's great leadership, we can do what we need to do.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm preachy today. I've been in
That's
church.
all right.
I'm here for it. You got me. Yeah, so you put on your preacher's hat that time.
I was a little choked up. You got me.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I'll take up the offering and let's do the altar call.
Amen.
The word is always right. We can always win with the word. You know what I mean? That word is always right.
Yes. Yes, it is.
All right, it's 7:08, and we are going to get started. I don't see the chairman yet. If you will reach out, send him a text, Mr. Secretary. Remind him that he's supposed to be on. Thank you so much. Right, we are going to get started. We want to be good stewards of everyone's time. There are 2 Representative Nixons on. We just need one. Which one is it one that says Angie Nixon, the other one says Representative Angie Nixon? Representative, which one of this is you? If you'll just... Oh, you may be multitasking from two devices. If you'll just put your hand up so we'll know, because I don't know who the other person is. We could do that. Thank you, ma'am. Representative Davis is on travel to Miami. If she's able to get on, be late, but she has some pressing family matter that she must take care of. Okay. All right. And we'll recognize the others as they come on. Mr. Kinsey and Mr. Morton.
Yes.
President Brown, if you will check, and if you see the other representative come over, and on the panelist side, if you will be so kind as to add them, I'd be greatly appreciative.
Okay. I just text the chairman. So.
Okay. Thank you. Alrighty. We are going to have a conversation today with our leadership. The leadership that looks like us, the leadership that cares about us, and the leadership that we voted and we depend on. A thing happened this past week as it pertains to redistricting, the voting of maps, the voting of approval in the House of Representatives and also in the Senate. Before we get into that, and before we hear from our state president, I want to start out as we do in the NAACP with prayer. Judge Holmes, if you will take us to the throne of grace, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Father, I thank you for today. I thank you for these, your people. And God, you have just been so good to us down through the years. You were good to our ancestors and generations before them. And God, as we meet and we strategize, I ask you now to arise and let our enemies be scattered. God, we are a people of prayer and of faith. And we know that if you did it before, you'll do it again. Help us, keep us strong. God, I ask you to keep our leadership strong in the name of Jesus. Give them strategies and then make us good foot soldiers that will carry it out. For you said in your word, write the vision and make it plain so that those that read it will run with it. And God, I ask you now to go with us, be with us. Those legislators that engaged in civil disobedience, God, I ask you now to stay the hand of the enemy. For you said in your word, no weapon formed against us will prosper, and every tongue that rises against us in judgment is condemned. We thank you in advance for all that you're going to do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Let us now hear from our president of the Florida State Conference, our National Board of Directors member, our fearless leader, the one, the only, Dr. Adora Obi Nweze. Madam President.
Thank you so much, Madam President. And because you have gone out of your way to certainly make me think I was somebody else, I just want you to know your salary that you receive every day will now be increased. And so that means since your salary is zero, you now get a double zero. Oh, you're all just great. Thank you so much.
You're very kind.
Good evening to everyone. to our guests, who really aren't guests, but we like to call them guests because we want them to always feel good when they come. We know that we need everyone who is here. Thank you, members. Thank you, officers. And just thank you, everyone who is a member of the NAACP. And for those who are not, we would encourage you to be sure to get them before you leave. You can get your membership right away. You don't have to wait on it. Just go ahead and pay. Now, I'm not asking for $30. I want to be clear about this, because the work we're doing and the work that we've got to do as we move our next step does not require you to pay the change in your pocket. You've got to get it out the bank so you're sure there are bills, and that they will not only pay for membership, but pay for the work that we're doing, and that's what we're depending on. That's what we've got to do. And to our elected officials, we want you to know we love you. That's one thing you need to know, and know that it exists every day. We love you and respect you, and we thank God for you as you do your daily work that you have agreed with us that you will do. And you're doing such a good job, such a very good job. And we want to make sure that you stay there, and that you stay there as long as the system allows you to be there. We have got to make sure that the seat is available for you, and that you will not be tormented and bothered by someone who calls himself a governor but doesn't act like one. And so because he doesn't act like one, we have got to be sure that we do everything we can to help him out of the seat permanently. We know how to do this. The NAACP, and those of us who know about the NAACP, can guarantee you that we have won a lot of fights, a lot of games, and a lot of everything that it's taken to still be here. We know that we've been here all of these years, over 100 years. We are soon moving on the 200 side of it. So we know it works. You know it works, but it only works when you work it. And in order to work it, you got to fight. That's the only way to do this. To win it, we got to fight. To win it, everybody has got to fight. To win it, everybody who believes in what's right, everybody who believes that those persons who don't want us around, everybody who believes that in order to win, we got to fight. So tonight, I want to hear fighting words. I want you to speak those words that will give us and energize us until we can feel it in our bones, every one of our bones. We can feel it, we can hear it. We understand the prayer that's coming back to us because God is speaking to us. He's responding to us. He always does, and you've got to remember that. So welcome, and Madam President, you're the best. Let's get it going. Let's move it, and let it not be in the same place when we leave tonight. Thank you so much, Madam President, and for the members of your and officers of the wonderful branch. We love so much. I'm so delighted that God has allowed me to be a member also. So I am just anxious to get going, Madam President. I'm following your leadership.
Thank you, Madam President. Next, we have our redistricting guru, our chairman of the board of the NAACP National Board of Directors, Mr. Leon W. Russell. Chairman Russell, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Marsha. I appreciate being asked to join the call this evening, and I apologize that I wasn't prepared to get on in time for the meeting. But I want to say a couple of things. First, I think it is clear to all of us that we are at a point where we have to go on the offensive. We can't sit back and wait to see what is going to happen. And so I have said to our general counsel and to the president that, Judge Holmes, it's time for some litigation. And it's time for litigation based on what we know. Whether we were all in when Fair Districts was passed from beginning to end, it is clear to me that the redistricting principles that were set forth in Fair Districts have been violated in this latest round of congressional redistricting that was carried out over the last week. It's clear to me that the governor's intent and his result has been to reduce the ability of African Americans to elect candidates of their choice to the Congress of the United States. It's very clear, it's unquestioned. It's clear to me that there is absolute regression in this. Don't tell me that there's not regression when we go from 4 down to 2. It doesn't work. The math doesn't work. And so to me, we have clear legal standing to join this fight. I think we have to take it as far as it needs to go. And I would urge the Florida State Conference and the units of the Florida State Conference to work with everybody who is intent on challenging this piece of legislation. Now, I don't see this from a partisan standpoint because we are a non-partisan organization, but I clearly see what the legislature did as violative of the Florida Constitution, targeted at African Americans, and intent on reducing our ability to elect candidates of our choice. There's no question for me. I will support whatever this Florida State Conference sends forward for the national office to support. I will ensure that our legal team is in this to the hilt. We can't let this slide. We have to fight. Pure and simple. So thank you, Madam President. I'm going to apologize in advance. My calendar did not show the link, and therefore I made another arrangement. And so I'm going to have to leave the call, but I fully expect Marsha and you to keep me up to speed on what needs to be done from here on. So I'm here to support you, and I will support this effort going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to be sure you heard us. Thanking you. And also never forget that you are the former president of the Florida State Conference. And therefore, we never forget it, and you know that. So we will keep you abreast, and we want you to know that we appreciate you contacting our president, Derek Johnson, and our attorney, our general counsel, and certainly the lawyers. We really, really are happy about that. And Pamela Birchford is here to work with them as she always does, and to work with us, because we must win this fight. And we must win every fight. And that's what we're going to do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. We will now next go to a thing happened the other day. My Senator Chevron Jones, tell us about the Senate. You were there, and you were certainly outspoken. But tell us, you're talking to NAACPers from across the state of Florida. Tell us about the vote and tell us your experience as you were there in the Senate.
Thank you so much, Madam President and Madam Chair. I really appreciate you for bringing all of us together, and I really thank you for your words that we need to hear at this moment in time, considering what we just came out of in Tallahassee. I also want to lift up in this moment the House Democrats for their efforts and for what they did, more particularly Representative Nixon, who I'm going to ask on this call that we make sure that we cover her, because the Republicans right now are trying to find out whether or not they are going to expel her or not. And so we need to make sure that we are supporting and speaking up for her in her efforts that are moving forward. Because I'll be honest with you, and when you said something, Madam Chair, that I agree with, that we no one can stand down or no one can sit on the sidelines in this moment. Especially when the same people who we serve with in this body, more particularly in the Senate, when they can vote against your interests, but yet and still they shake our hands and call us their friends at the same time. But yet and still you're stripping us of not just our right to vote, but you're also you're taking our representation away from us. Wow, hear this. While they're doing this, they know what they're doing. They're very clear on what their messaging is, and they try to lie and try to put facts on top of it. And so what we saw in the Senate was a blatant stripping away of that representation. Now, but mind you, I want you all to understand that just 3 weeks ago, we voted on a map that they said was constitutional. They said it was a constitutional map. And then they come back in a special session to say now that that map we voted on was unconstitutional. As if we did not sit down in the same room to see y'all debate on those bills, which is totally unfortunate. I'll tell you this, that if we as a people, they have to see us in this moment that we are as woke as ever. And we cannot allow them to think for 2 seconds that the Black community, that we are asleep at the wheel, because we're not. As a matter of fact, we're just as woke as we have been, and as I think more than ever now. I was out yesterday and I saw a member of my church say something that I have never heard a Black person say before. And that was, she said, I've never been involved in politics, but after seeing what we're doing what's happening in this state, I promise you, I am trying to figure out who or what I need to connect with to move this forward. Hear me what I'm telling y'all. We have the fight of our life on our hand. I'm no attorney, but I'm a fighter, and I understand. I read. I'm connected with good attorneys like Fentress Driscoll and Pamela Birchford and others that are on here. I can consult them. But what I do have is I have a fight in me that in this moment, we can't back down in this moment. Hear me what I'm telling y'all. And I'm not talking about calling allies. I'm talking about calling accomplices, people who are willing to go into this fight with us to make it clear that, and I want y'all to hear this. The legislature has been on this tip. Follow the timeline. Since George Floyd, this legislature has come out strong against our community, limiting the way how we protest, changing the voting rules at the box. And now this is what they're doing. And I think it is time for them to see that Black folk, that we are wide awake and that we are not going to allow you to sit back and do what you're doing to us and do anything. We've been there before. We've seen it before. And because of that, we're not going to just sit idle. And so I'm happy for this call. I do want to point out that I spoke with Representative Nixon yesterday, and I spoke with Senator Osgood. We were trying to plan something for next Saturday, but I guess the consensus from a lot of my colleagues is they want to make sure that we do it right and not be hasty about it. But we are looking to do a rally for Black people across the state. At every corner of the state, we are looking to come together, and all across the state, from Jacksonville all the way down to Key West, everyone doing what they do best in their areas, pulling all these entities together, and making sure that the main thing that we're doing, not just a bunch of talking heads, but the main thing that we're doing is that people are coming to be informed, but there are also opportunities for people to register to vote, but also to register for absentee ballots. This is our time. We can't wait till November to vote. We got to encourage people to vote in August. That's the benchmark that we have to use for people to know that Black folks not playing, and we are no longer going to be anybody's doormat or political punching bag.
Thank you, Senator. We will we'll stay in the Senate and move to our newly elected state senator. Newly elected state senator who went in having just been sworn in and you talk about having to hit the ground running, and had to go in. And she told me she prays for me all the time because, you know, I might say a couple of bad words here and there, you know, that sort of thing. But praying all the way through to make sure that she was able to do her job without being upset or not, and just being able to do what we voted for her to do. We would like to welcome our own Senator Rosalind Osgood. Dr. Osgood.
Thank you so much to my local president of the Fort Lauderdale-Broward branch of the NAACP, my sister and friend, and to our state president and my soror. It's always good to be in your presence, and each and every one of you. I want to echo the words of Senator Jones and thanking the House for the stand you took and the disruption that you caused around this issue. And for me, it's just simple. You know, I just went through 4 or 5 months of the same stuff with the mask mandates, the bullying, the threats, the intimidation, people, you know, trying to follow you to your house, trying to bully you. This is the time that we're living in. And I'm going to just keep it real simple. This leadership moment is for people that will have moral courage. No matter if you Black, white, or Hispanic, it is a time and a moment for moral courage. It is moral courage that will help us deal with unethical, unsafe, discriminatory behavior. There is no doubt about it. We thought that we had seen it all with 45, but this governor is a lot smarter and a lot more dangerous and extremely strategic. You know, give me about 6 more months and I'll be able to tell you some details about how our school board was plotted since 2018. It is a real attack upon people of color. When you get down to data and you see that the data in one district is being used of the number of Black voters that were registered and are no longer registered. In another district, it's the voting age of Blacks that was used. And I bet we can go district by district and we'll see that there was different criteria used in those congressional maps and what was done to harm us. You know, being new to the Senate, I'm not new to dealing with people that don't look like me, and I'm not new to being the only person that looked like me in the midst of them. Being one of 2 Black women in the Senate, I found it very interesting, the look on people's face when you ask them, if you were Black people in those districts, would you be okay with this being done to you? I believe in Immanuel Kant's whole theory of categorical imperativeness in universal law. Whatever laws I'm making and whatever I'm willing to put into law has to be something that's good for my family, but your family as well. We're in a state of emergency and we need to register voters, but we also need to find some money that we can start putting messaging out. I was with Representative Driscoll maybe about 6 or 7 months ago, and it's where I got this background from. And it stayed with me about how we all win. And they talked about messaging. We need to be igniting our base right now, just like they're doing with this falsity about critical race theory and all this other imaginary stuff that they claim and going on in schools that ain't happening. We need to ignite our base. I'm in Broward County. I asked the supervisor of election for data because I'm data driven like that. And when he gives me the data and I see that there's now 176, 141 ineligible Black voters since 2008, I'm saying if we register 10 or 20% of those people back, we got to get down to the nitty gritty and start engaging and targeting people for the bigger cause of voting some of these people out. And finally, we have to start challenging these seats, even if they are dominated by another party. We cannot just give people a pass and think that they're not going to have any opposition, that we're going to just sit back and not take. Dr. King said the oppressor never relinquished power. You have to take it. Those of you all that grew up in the hood like me, you know, we say we got to get it like Drake. This is the time that we have to get it like Drake. We have to start strategizing, and we have to start taking it. And for our faith leaders that are out there, it's no joke when we're asking for your prayers, because some things only come through fasting and praying. So as people of color, we know that it's our faith that has brought us this far, and it is our faith that will carry us onward. But this is a very serious moment, and we can't handle it. And we have to do the God and the faith that we talk about. It is moral courage. I'm looking for those that are willing to do the work, that's going to have moral courage. Moral courage say you risk it all. If I can give up $20,000 of my salary to go to Tallahassee because I love the people that elect me to represent them, you can make some sacrifices for the greater good of our people, some greater sacrifices for the greater good of our people as well. Thank you. That's right.
Thank you, Doc. We'll now hear from Representative Driscoll. Representative, a thing happened the other day in the House. I didn't know about it. I was talking to Pamela Birch Ford, and we were talking about some other stuff and legal stuff. And she said, oh, by the way, there is some good trouble happening over in the Florida House. And I was on with James Morton, and we were listening and passing the word. I was texting the chairman and texting the president so we could all see. But for those of us, for those who didn't see, and those of us who don't know, can you share with us what happened in the House the other day? Representative Driscoll, please.
I can. So great to see you, Marcia and Madam President, and to everyone who is here. Ventress Driscoll, State Representative from Florida House District 63 in Hillsborough County, where the Honorable Yvette Lewis is our president. And, you know, I just saw Representative Nixon's name, and then it looked like she disappeared, but I thought Rep Nixon and Rep McCurdy were on, and want to make sure that I lift them up in the work that they did and the brave actions that they took in initiating the sit-in and the protest. And so what occurred was that we were voting on the congressional map, which was put forward by the governor, not the legislature. It's put forward by the governor. And the Constitution gives the legislature the authority to draw the map, not the governor. And so we made the arguments that we could. We tried to set the foundation and put out the arguments and the record that we needed to build for the legal challenges. And I think we did that very well. And then some of our members who felt like they were not being heard, that we were not being heard, took what I describe as the extraordinary action of sitting down. They sat down on the chamber floor, and they made sure that Black voices would be heard. And then I think once many of us realized what was happening, you saw a lot of the other members come and join in. Some were being real timid about it. And then there was a call like, everybody come and join in. And so the footage to the Florida channel, the feed got cut, but there was a lot of feed on social media. And so what you will see is that the members of the Democratic Caucus in the House joined hands in the middle of the House floor, the chamber floor. And we were praying. We were singing hymnals. We were doing everything that we could, I think, to express that emotion that is so bottled up, but you can only keep that bottled up for so long. And so what we know is that when we are in Tallahassee, when we are dealing with that legislature and that governor, we are behind enemy lines. We are behind enemy lines. At that point, honestly, it's just math, right? We do not have the numbers to stop the bad bills and bad policy that they want to put in place. Where we have more favorable terrain, this is the art of war, y'all. Some of y'all probably read The Art of War, right? Where we have more favorable terrain is when we are out there and we can be connected with the voters directly in the street. And I think if Rep Nixon were here, and hopefully she can join, she would tell you that is what initiated her action, her call to action, which was to do something that would ignite the passion of the voters who are in the communities and who are in the street. And so now we've been given a gift, right? Had that not happened, I'm not even sure if we would have been having this call tonight. We have been given a gift in that attention has been called to this unconstitutional congressional map in a very big way. And I think the question for us tonight and going forward is, what are we going to do with that gift that particularly Rep. Nixon and Rep. McCurdy have given to us? And I think it comes down to organizing. You heard Senator Oscar talk about it. You heard Senator Jones talk about it. It's now our time to try and do the organizing that we need to do to educate and engage Black voters and make sure we turn out. We will be the difference. And it's not just Black voters, right? We need a coalition of voters. I know we can't be political, but I'll just say in the center-left ecosystem or in the ecosystem with values that reflect the values of our community. We need to build a coalition and we need to make sure that Ron DeSantis is a one-term governor and that we start to change the tide within the chambers in the Florida legislature so that it also is more favorable terrain. So thank you so much for having us here tonight.
Thank you, Representative. I don't see Representative Nixon or McCurdy. I think they're off now. I'm looking for them if they come back on. We will go now to Representative Darrell Campbell. Remember, Representative Tracy Davis is en route to Miami, I believe. So, if she says if she can get on, she will, but she does have a conflict with a serious family matter that she has to take care of. And with that, Representative Campbell.
Thank you for having me on. I don't want to repeat the same words that my colleagues and the senators have stated before, but we are in a state of emergency here. If it wasn't for the actions of our colleagues, Representative McCurdy and Representative Nixon, we wouldn't probably be having this discussion. But we need to be aware that we need to, as a collective group, come together and make our voices heard in this next election. We have an opportunity here where we can bring every individual, every organization that is content on ensuring that the Black vote gets heard, brought to the table. And we cannot miss this opportunity right now. It's more important than ever. We have an opportunity where we bring all of us to the table. And on top of that, not only just bringing us, but also bringing the corporations, because what we've seen in this legislation is that the Republicans do not care about anything. And so we need to unite on one front in ensuring that we take a stand and we get voters out. Nothing happens unless we flip some seats. We can rant all we want. We can do the rah-rah. We can protest all we want, but nothing occurs until these seats are flipped and we make a progressive movement in ensuring that we have a voice and that they respect us in the House and in the Senate. And right now, what we're seeing is not only is our House not being respected, our Senate's not being respected, and they're all being controlled by the governor. And so we have to come out and we have to put forth the massive, we have to get out there, we have to knock. We got to ensure that not only our current representatives that are ensuring that our legislation and our policies that we implemented are passed and their voices are heard in this current session, but we also got to ensure that people who are coming for these open seats are elected to ensure that they are standing with us and not for the governor. And so we have to get out. We have to make sure that they voices get heard. We have to raise money. We got to do the groundwork, because simply protesting, sitting in the House, yes, that is bringing the attention to our issues, but let's be honest. We've had a day of just interviewing about this Black voters. We've had just one day of Black voters, and then they still are talking about Disney. Like, how are we still talking about Disney when the disenfranchised individuals are the Black voters? And so we have to come together. We have to get all these parties involved, and we have to make sure that those votes get counted. We have to bring our people out to vote and let them know how powerful our vote is. Because what we're seeing right now is that they are beating us down by just simply talking trash to us and letting us know how much our voice does not matter. But in actuality, our voice matters way more than what they're telling us. And we cannot sit idly by and allow them to continue to tell us how much our voice matters when our voice matters way more than what they're telling us. And so we have to come front. We have to get everybody involved, and we have to be on the front lines of ensuring that this governor does not get reelected. We got to ensure that individuals that ensure that the Black vote does not count, does not get reelected. And so, look, I'm with my colleagues. I stood with them in their protests. And I am going to continue to ensure that we make sure that we get people elected. If it calls for me to leave outside my district to go knock on doors to ensure that, let them know that these individuals are for Floridians everywhere, to make sure that we get out and vote strong in this next election. Because as a freshman representative, I refuse to sit by to ensure that this abuse of our laws, of our representation gets shown and gets deteriorated. And so I'm here letting you know that I'm not going to sit idly by, and I hope and I want you all to be involved in ensuring that we get others involved and that their vote shows that it matters as well.
Thank you, Representative. We also have a Representative Nixon, I believe that is you. I know that you had two earlier. I think that's you on, and if you will just let us know. I believe I was told that it was your brainchild to lead this effort as we of civil disobedience that we hear. We would love to hear from you, Representative Angie Nixon from Duval County.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, a lot of background noise.
I'm sorry, I'm out with family. We just laid my auntie to rest yesterday. Can you hear me though?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
So hi everyone. I'm Rep Nixon from Jacksonville, Florida. And yes, it was somewhat my brainchild. However, my partner was Representative Tavares McCarty. And so, I mean, I don't know exactly what you all want me to say, but I guess I will just speak my truth, and speak as I speak authentically all the time. So we are in a place where we are really raw. We are frustrated, we were tired, we felt like no one knew what was going on, or people knew, but just not enough people. And so, you know, I come from a place of being a community organizer who somewhat agitates so folks can see, like, you know, like a washing machine, you agitate to come clean, right? To get the best version of your garment. And so I felt as though we could not continue to go on and just do politics as usual anymore, because I mean, us being good Democrats and abiding by decorum, just wasn't working, right? Like, granted, yeah, we may get appropriations, we may have some bills, but just thinking about my community and what it looks like and how it's looked over the past few years, and just the resources that have been able to come or really not been able to come. Like, I knew that just the removal of 2 additional seats was just not going to like cut it, right? And so folks say, you know, I'm not like your normal elected official. I am not politically correct. That's just not who I am. I ran for the people, right? Like, I believe that politics doesn't have to be dirty. I believe, I'm sorry. I believe that, like, things can be made right. And I guess it's like the optimist in me. And so it hurts. It is hurting me and McCurry somewhat. Cause, you know, like, I'm sorry. We started out with 8 posts, and you know, you don't tell everybody what you're doing as an organizer because, you know, some people may be hesitant or whatever. And then by that night, it ended with just 3 that we knew were going to participate. And so in that morning, it was just us 2. And I'll never forget calling McCurdy, and I said, "Don't leave me out there. Like, don't leave me. Like, I need you to have my back." And so he had my back. And it's like, at the end of the day, I don't care if I'm, you know, expelled or even if I go to jail, they're like saying lock me up because I committed a felony. You know, just being a part of being a part of the process and seeing what they do and how they operate. But it was just like we had to break through the noise of Disney, right? Like, we knew that Disney was a distraction. We knew we needed to do something to alert our folks about what was going on and try to motivate our base. And, you know, I understand that you have your Malcolms, you have your Martins, and you have your folks that are more boisterous and all that stuff, but I just feel like we have to get back to basics, to what used to be super successful. I'm sorry. And like, what we've been doing just has not necessarily been working. And so, I mean, I just resorted back to what I knew had worked in the past. And also just knowing that Rep. Henson and Rep. Thompson had gone through this stuff before. How could I just sit there and just let them ram this bill down our throats without like disrupting the process? And so that's why we did it. We hope that it was not in vain. We are in the process of working with different elections and different organizations to take it to the streets, so to speak, because I mean, like, we love these Zoom calls. Yes, COVID has opened up another entire world of connecting with people. However, like, we are preaching to the choir, and like, we need to go. We need to talk to the folks in the brunches. We need to talk to the folks in the clubs, in the strip clubs, the moms who are overwhelmed and dropping their kids off at daycare. So we're going to ask the daycare centers and the Head Starts to have family night so we can go in and educate them, right? Like, we can't just go to our churches anymore. Like, we got to like really take it to the streets and go into low income areas and let them know how everything we do, everything from whether or not the air we breathe is clean, from whether or not the water we drink it's clean, which is evident by Flint. Like everything we do is related to politics. And so, you know, they are not nice by any means. They lack decorum because they can talk about us, they can disrespect us. And so we were tired. And, you know, we knew that bill was going to pass. But again, if we would have done nothing, we would not have gotten international attention that we're getting now. And so if that means me being expelled, like, I feel I did my job because I prayed about it that night. I prayed about it that morning. And like the fact that there's an emergency call with over 100 people on, like, I'm hoping that we get to work, right? Like, and we don't just have calls, but like actually get people to sign pledge cards and make sure they vote, plug them in so they can be involved and help volunteer. And because I'm tired of having to protest and march, right? Like, I don't want my daughters to have to go through the same things that my grandparents went through. And so this is where we're at. This is our thought process, and that's all I really have to say.
Thank you, Representative. Let's go to our legal strategists, our legislative political strategists to talk about there's much talk about censorship. There's talk about possible expelling of both Representative McCurdy and Representative Nixon. Pamela, what does that process look like? Is that really a thing that could happen to our representative who were just standing up and doing what was right rather than just going along with the status quo?
Thank you, President Ellison and President Nweze, for inviting me to participate this evening. I do want to say it took a lot of courage for Representative Nixon to hatch this plan and talk to her members and engage this civil discourse. And as all of our leaders in a historical context, they all have long criminal records. And Rep. Nixon was very well aware that not only does the process of the Florida House allow for repercussions in violating its rules of decorum, the sanctions could flow as severe as expelling members from the House, which would take a vote by the entire House of Representatives. They put themselves in grave jeopardy and could have been removed from the House chamber by Capitol Police and could have been placed under arrest. We were ready on the back end if that had happened. There were criminal defense attorneys on standby and bondsmen on standby because we were going to do everything we could to advance them from an incarcerated position if that had occurred. But I want to take a moment to thank all the legislators for their help. They didn't just show up at the end here. These members have been involved with us from day one. And I want to say, as a prelude to redistricting, this really started with the 2021 session when the legislature passed Senate Bill 90 that had a devastating impact on our ability to vote. They attacked vote by mail ballots. They attacked the use of drop boxes. They attacked line warming proceedings. They attacked everything they could to keep Black folks from showing up at the ballot and casting that vote. We were successful in court recently after a 3-week trial, not only because our own members, Tony Brown and Cynthia Slater, testified on our behalf, but our legislators also testified in that trial, which is an unusual step, but they made themselves available to do so. We come back in the 2022 session and pass yet another election bill that will impact our ability to vote when we pass Senate Bill 524 this year. And that too had an impact as we move to redistricting. The NAACP has been vitally involved in redistricting since our first foray in 1972. In 1992, their involvement led to 3 congressional seats being made available for minority members. In 2010, the NAACP was a vital part of the Fair Districts Coalition that passed what is known as Amendment 5 and 6, that placed standards in the Constitution to guide the creation of fair maps. In 2012, legislature did not adhere to those standards, and they were challenged in court. It took 3 years, but in 2015, the Florida Supreme Court redrew the maps and created a 4th opportunity for a minority to serve. Congressional District 5, Congressional District 20, and Congressional District 24 are Black seats. Congressional District 10 is known as a coalition seat. It is comprised of African Americans and Hispanics, but 4 Blacks were elected to Congress. What we have now, and I know this is a nonpartisan forum, but I want to make a point here. There are a little more than 5 million registered Republicans in the state of Florida. There are 5 million registered Democrats in the state of Florida, and there are 4 million non-party affiliates in the state of Florida. Yet, the Florida legislature just produced a congressional map that has 20 Republican seats and 8 Democratic seats. That is highly unusual. That is highly partisan. I've been given the task by Chair Russell and President Nweze to find a way for the NAACP to challenge this map. Already there is litigation filed in state court, and they are filed in state court challenging the map and indicating that it does not comply with the fair district standards. So they are suing based on diminishment, partisan intent, and non-compactness. Conversations are ongoing now with the Office of General Counsel and others to find a way to take this into federal court. And we're looking at the opportunity to do just that based on discriminatory intent. So I will have hopefully information next week that I can share with the conference. And hopefully we will be going into federal court on this matter. And that will give us 2 bites at the apple, in state court or in federal court. And as Judge Holmes mentioned previously, the courts are not in our favor, but that doesn't mean we don't show up and we don't fight. This has another implication that I want to make sure everybody understands. Governor DeSantis didn't have to care what was happening with these maps. He only wanted as many Republican seats drawn as he could. It is virtually impossible for us to get courts to draw new maps before qualifying in June. Our supervisors of elections have indicated that they must have district lines by April the 29th in order to re-precinct the entire state. These maps didn't just affect a few districts, it touched every congressional district. So the entire state has to be re-precinct in order for us to carry out a successful election in August. So it is highly likely that we will be running on the map with 20 Republican seats and 8 Democratic seats for the 2022 cycle. And it's very possible we will run on that same map in 2024 at a time when Governor DeSantis hopes to be on the ballot running for president. And mind you, Florida got a new district. So no, we can't run on the old seats. We have to run on a new map. Florida has 28 congressional districts now and 2 US Senate seats. That gives the state of Florida 30 seats, 30 votes in the Electoral College in 2024. And should a Republican win the presidency, those 30 votes would go to that individual. So Mr. DeSantis is stacking the deck in as many places as he can to help himself and to help his party. We have a lot of work to do. I know that President Ellison, President Nweze are all committed to do it. And I am very appreciative that our elected officials have joined us this evening. And hopefully we can come up with a unified strategy and work towards getting our community to the polls to vote as we change the makeup of the House and the Senate to improve and enhance our own destiny. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Attorney Pamela Birchford. I want to let everyone introduce those who have not met Florida's newest Congresswoman, who has just also hit the ground running. But I believe certainly that your district, Congresswoman, has been changed by the signing of these maps as well. So if you would just introduce yourself and give us an example of how your district has changed.
Good evening, everyone, and a special thank you to the NAACP and President Marsha Ellis for hosting this in such a timely manner. And I want to start off by saying a great thank you. And I am so proud of our state senators, our state House members and representatives. The tenacity you've shown this past week is applaudable. And when I first ran, I talked about our destiny moments. And it makes me so proud to see you guys answering the call for your destiny moment, because this governor uses intimidation. He uses financial intimidation to get what he wants. And so for everyone to participate and to stand up for what we know is actually right for not just us, but right for our ancestors and our futures, it's such an honor to serve you guys and to see you guys picking up that mantle and fighting. And with the NAACP standing behind you, I want to let everyone know that you will never stand alone and that we do have your back. And even though we're precluded from speaking about maps when it comes to our preference, as members of Congress, we're not precluded about talking about the injustice of what's going on and how the governor is trying to reach outside of his bounds of authority to push his agenda. And when we look at what he's doing and the actions that he's taking actions and steps that was taken before post-Reconstruction. We see every step that he's taking to add different bills that limit our access to the voting ballot, limit the access of Black people to voting, and then compounding that with asking for this task force to help with voter protection. We've seen that before post-Reconstruction. And all it's leading up to, in addition to the redistricting, is leading up to where you have low participation of Black people, dilution of Black votes, in which Black people would not be motivated to even vote. And we know that if we don't have Black people on the ballot, if we're not there pushing and Black people seeing results, it actually causes Black people not to want to vote. So that is his goal in trying to make sure that the Democratic Party does not continue to lead. We've had a voice in this party. I know this isn't partisan, but we have to look towards our history and understand what's going on. My district, which is a minority access district, now has been reduced to 50% of having Black voters compared to what we had before, which was over 60%. And this is an important time in our lives for us to talk about, because we see post-Reconstruction era, which resulted in Jim Crow laws, happening right now. And then we see the governor in the next breath saying, we're going to stop critical race theory, which that doesn't even exist. But when we look at our history, we see that this has been done. So I want to be here tonight. It was especially important so I can encourage you guys to continue the fight and know that we have your back. You will never fight alone. And organizing is paramount. whatever dollars we have to put behind ensuring that we're protecting our elected stateside, that we're making sure that we're getting all these seats and that we have representation, we will do whatever needs to be done. And so once again, I applaud you. I just wanted to stop on and let you know, especially Representative Nixon, we have your back. You will never stand alone, even if we're not there, because we can't do as much as we would like. We are watching and we have all of you. We pray for you, but when it comes to the rubber hitting the road, we got you. Just always remember that. And I thank you once again for allowing me to speak on this issue. And we're all impacted. The goal is to make sure that we suppress Black votes. They know that Black people vote for Black people. We go out and vote for our issues. And this is a power struggle. And now they're taking it to the extreme. And that's why we have to fight even harder to give it right back and let them know, no, we're not going backwards. And anyone who does not stand with them, we won't stand with us. We're not standing with you. All the allies that people claim to be allies to the Black community, friends to the Black community, we need you now in standing in the line of fire with us. And so we're calling upon everyone, and we're doing that in our district, and even the other members are calling upon it. But this was such a proud moment for what you were able to do and stand up and do. I just wanted to commend you guys forwardly and openly. And also Ms. Pamela Birchford, we spoke many times about all the great work you've been doing. The Congressional Black Caucus, we've been speaking to you. You are leading this fight and you are a master in the knowledge that you have. So we thank you for all your great work and have a great night. I just wanted to step in and make sure that everyone can know that we see what's going on. This is a proud moment. The whole country is proud of what you guys have been able to do. And even though we can't comment like we want to as members of Congress, we are proud and we are watching. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to everyone.
Thank you, Congresswoman, a fully paid Silver Life member of the NAACP. Thank you, ma'am. I believe we have Representative McCurdy back. Representative, are you able to unmute?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. So a thing happened the other day, Representative, and now we're talking about, we're hearing that they're talking about censorship, they're talking about expelling, they're, whatever. So tell us what happened and where you are in this as we sit today and what you need from us. You're Orange County, I believe, correct?
That's correct. State Representative Travaris McCurdy. I represent House District 46 currently, which will turn into House District 41 once the new district numbers are adopted here in Orange County. So obviously, it's been all over the news. I'm sure you all have dived in it in this conversation. But Representative Nixon and I just felt it was necessary to shed some light on some of these things that they're trying to shove down our throats in Tallahassee. And something as important as redistricting that we don't get to entertain, but for every 10 years, we just felt, especially our direct connections. Congressional District 10 is my congressional district. Congressional District 5 is Representative Nixon's congressional district. These are two minority congressional districts that they took away. We felt it very important that we shed some light. We were happy to have, colleagues stand in solidarity with us, but it was just people at home are tired of the games. People are tired of hearing us saying that we are fighting, and they don't see a fight necessarily. I know I ran for office as a quote unquote millennial 2 years ago because I wanted to engage and encourage younger people to get involved in the political process, right? And I've come home from 2 regular sessions, a few couple special sessions, and people are trying to figure out what are we doing as members of my party, members of my caucus. What are we doing to show that we are trying to fight against, even without having the numbers, right? So we have to engage people at home and wake people up to the things that we need them to pay attention to if we're ever going to change the tide. So this was the demonstration that we did on Thursday was not in no form or fashion an attempt to change any votes in that chamber because we knew that was very unlikely. But it was to turn the light on some of these issues and some of these problems to get the average common day people at home to realize and understand the importance of them staying engaged, and that we have an election coming up in a couple months that we can do something about this dictatorship style of governing that's happening in Tallahassee right now.
Thank you, sir. Senator Jones, tell us, I believe your district has entitled you're now Miami-Dade. You are no longer going to be Broward.
Yeah, that's correct. So my new district has moved from the southern portion of Broward County, and it now encompasses Miami Beach, which is the North and Mid Beach, up to 41st Street, right where the Fountain Blue is at, Bell Harbor, North Bay Village, El Portal, and of course I still have the black areas, which is Opelika, Miami Gardens, and portions of Liberty City, North Miami, and North Miami Beach. But the problem here lies is that now I'm literally I'm the last black senator in Miami-Dade County. The last black senator in Miami-Dade County. And if you get multiple blacks to run in this seat and one white, because of that Bell Harbor, North Bay Village area, you can get a white senator to get to the Senate, and then therefore Miami-Dade County will have no black representation at all.
Wow. How many new white folks did they give you?
Right now, so we're still at 51% with blacks, and I think the white population was right at like 26 or 27.
I read somewhere that the White House is run by gaining state House and state Senate seats. So we'll see where they're going with that. Senator Osgood, how has your district changed under this current administration?
So my district has changed. It went from 51% black to 41%. Pompano was taken out, and it was extended to include Plantation and Sunrise out to the Sawgrass.
Looks like they added a few non-black people to your district as well.
They did, and it was interesting. Senator Jones and I was kind of conversing because one of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle made this big speech and commented that Senator Osgood is the only one here that was elected in a minority access district. So it tells you that they've spent a lot of time thinking about it and looking at these districts, and we know that it should be at least 51%, but these are the games that are being played to put in areas that are people that don't look like us, but what they feel give us an economic advantage. You know, I came from a nonpartisan school board representing that area, so I'm familiar with it. But if we're not paying attention, it's these little subtle things that they're doing along with these big things that they're doing. And we got to pick and choose which ones we deal with. I got some data from Joe Scott, as I said earlier, about registered Black voters and decline in registered voters overall. We have to go find these people and get them back on the voting roll and get them voting. We have to make sure that we practice good stewardship in our churches, that every member is not just registered, but they're actually voting, because I can just tell you, coming through 2 recent elections, that's not the case. So charity has to start at home for us. The people that live in our house, the young people, we can't allow them, because they're millennials, to just be registered MPA. Because when we got into asking questions in committee, they are looking at primary elections, Black people that were voting in primary elections. So if you MPA, you can't vote in the primary election, and it lessens your voting power. So it was time for us to just level up in every area within our own social networks, and not just assume because someone is a soror or a frater that they actually vote, because a lot of them are not. We have to have these conversations to make sure that across the board, our church members, our colleagues, our co-workers, our sorority sisters, everybody is actually exercising that right to vote, because they are looking at those numbers and say, well, less people registered. So I ask, is it participation? No, less people registered. But they didn't tell the other side of how they constantly purging the rolls. You'll be blown away if you just look at over the years how more and more people continue to be declared inactive or ineligible to vote, simply because we renters, we move. So we don't always update the address. If I'm a mother with 3 kids, I'm trying to keep a roof over my kids' head and food on the table. I'm not necessarily thinking about updating my voter's registration card, and then it comes back and hurt us.
Thank you. Representative Driscoll, how has your district changed?
Thank you. So my district got split into 3. So when I first ran in 2018, I actually flipped a district from red to blue. It was a swing district that would go back and forth, and it was held by a Republican at the time. We were able to flip that district and then hold it in 2020. Now with redistricting, it's been split into, did I say 2? It's been split into 3. So the western part of the district where I live got drawn into a Republican district. The central part got dropped down into Representative Diane Hart's district. And then the eastern part is the part that I get to keep. And then I picked up some more suburban areas, but it actually is a more blue district. So it means that I'll have to move for the 3rd time in 4 years for this part-time job that does not pay extra, no matter how hard you work, but that's okay. Service is its own reward. So that is how my district is changing. But in terms of the congressional maps in Tampa Bay, if I could just comment on that too, there was a lot of packing of Democratic voters in the districts around there. And so it's resulting in a more Republican leaning district now in Hillsborough County, which is definitely not a good thing in terms of, again, not to make it partisan, but just thinking through who actually represents our values. We have a very good Congresswoman in Tampa Bay, and so her seat is in jeopardy now.
And who is that Congresswoman?
Congresswoman Kathy Castor.
Thank you. And that means that Yvette Lewis is on here, your president. So that means you owe her a phone call, because we really need Hillsborough County. And I'm sure if you reach out, she will be all in. Representative Darrell Campbell, I know you just got in, and before the ink dried, your district has changed as well.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, before the ink dried, my district has changed, not substantially, but to a point where we've taken on more of Wilton Manors, and we got more of Plantation and a lot more closer to 595 area within my area. One of the things that I was explaining to individuals that this is more of a long-term game. What they are trying to do, and what we saw in the redistricting map, they're trying to put our voices all into one, and ensuring that the diversity within our voices are put together, and in mixing up what the issues are. And so we want to make sure that, look, my district is a melting pot of multinational diversity, and they each come with their own issues that we're focused on, and I am representative of every issue within my district. But what they're trying to do is combine us into one, ensuring that all that voice is circumvented into one voice, and that is not the truth. We all have a area of focus within that voice, and we want to make sure that each one of those voices are heard demographically, whether that is with the LGBTQ community, whether that is with the Black community, whether that is with the white community. We want to make sure that each individual focus within that district is being heard, and they are playing the long game and ensuring that we put all those voices into one, so that they can focus on other districts, knowing that they won't win these districts. And so I'm here making sure that those voices in each area of those silos get heard, and it's being heard with each bill that is put in front of me and put on the floor. And so, look, we have to continue to work and make sure that we bring people to the table. We got to make sure to work that each silo is heard and is recognized as being uniquely and strategically important. What they want to do is just make sure that we're all one and try to combine us, and that is not the truth. We are all different in each different aspect, and we're going to make sure that each voice, each silo is heard, no matter where it is stemming from, because all is important. What they do to one, they do to all.
Thank you. Senator Jones, you started a program, I believe, recently. Certainly you reached out to our national office with the backing of our Dominic and also Jamal, if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I appreciate it, Marsha. So we did launch Operation Blackout 7 weeks, about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and this was strategically going into Black and Brown rural communities, which are low propensity voters. Also have found that many of these individuals being able to get to voting locations can't because of course, they're in rural communities. To this date, what we are happy about, and we have something that's coming out next week. Since we launched the portal, we've had about 10,000 people already within these communities to go in and register for absentee ballots. We're now about to transition into putting more people on the ground, not just in rural communities, but also in what I call Starbucks communities. So your Jacksonville, your Hillsborough, your Orlando, Miami-Dade County, so forth and so forth, Broward, at events where events are happening, like Representative Nixon made mention of going to unpopular areas where people traditionally wouldn't go register people to vote and register people to do absentee ballots, not just churches, but also at your child care centers, at your strip clubs, at your liquor stores, at your gas stations. We're going to start strategically dispersing people, and thankful to the NAACP, Dominic and Jamal. We have the NAACP is going to work along with us once we sit down with our brother Derek, President Derek, to figure out what those terms look like, and also with you, Ms. Marsha, Ms. Adora, to figure out how we can continue to build this momentum to not just engage, not just bring these voters in, during the time as far as absentee ballots and registering to vote, but also engaging them year round, which is most important.
Thank you. And as we wrap up, I want to make sure that we know that. So the big part about MPAs, there are a number of ways that you can become an MPA. You could go and renew your driver's license and not check the box of either Democrat or Republican, and you could be an MPA. You could get a knock on the door, someone update your voter reg card, and your party is not one of those mandated boxes, and not check a box and become an NPA. And so I would ask, and I believe that the president will allow me. We were asking that units purchase the roster of all MPAs from their local SOEs. They will give it to you on a disk drive, or they give it to you in Dropbox, where you could say to those individuals, if you are an MPA, first of all, explain what that is. And hopefully we all know that that means that you're only going to be in the primary, you're only going to be able to vote in nonpartisan races, which means for us here, it's going to be judges and it's going to be school board. In different counties, it may vary. However, we need to make sure that we know them and tell the people that. We are doing massive high school voter reg. They don't know the difference between the parties, and so they may just leave that off. There's a big loss there. And so I know we don't tell anybody who to vote for, but my personal thing is, Madam President, I want to keep my representatives who are fighting in Tallahassee. So we will make sure that at least if you'll have the option of voting for the folk on this call or others because they're in a party. You won't want to be showing up and they'll be calling our offices saying they have disenfranchised me. I went to vote and Representative McGurty was not on my ballot. Well, that's because you were NPA. And so we ask that that we reach out. There are apps that can be used to make the calls. There are different strategies, and you will hear from that. But we have got to stand up. Now it's time. There are, on the phone, Madam President, is St. Lucie, South Palm Beach, South Dade County, Volusia County, West Volusia, Miami-Dade, Jacksonville, St. Pete, Orange County, Okaloosa County, Tri-City, Sarasota, Marion County, Clearwater, Upper Pinellas, Hillsborough County, Broward County. Those are off the top of my head. I think I saw Central Brevard on there. So we have to activate all 67 of our units. we have to get busy, and the time is now. We will send out information for you in order and how to get these things. We will actually update your third party. We'll tell you how to do that to make sure that we are registering our voters and not getting into trouble. And one last thing, Miss Pamela Birchford, the third party voter reg, can you very quickly share with us what the rule is today on third party voter registration?
Well, we are now we're reverted back to what existed before Senate Bill 90 was in place, but we no longer have to verbalize a disclaimer and tell people that that we may not submit those forms on time, because the disclaimer pursuant to Senate Bill 524 is going to be printed on the voter application form. So we can engage in third-party voter registrations. You have to be careful about changing votes without the permission of the potential registrant, because there's now a $1,000 fine for each registration form that you may impact in that manner. So we are back to our old standard rules rather than the rules passed under Senate Bill 90.
And so, Madam President, the former chairman of the board, Mr. Julian Bond, would always say if a branch or any unit is not doing voter registration, they should turn in their charter. And with that, I am going to turn it over to you, Madam President, for closing remarks, please. You're muted, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Madam President, I am so proud of you, and I want you to know that we love you and we want you to keep that energy going and leading us where we need to be so that we win, as we are going to win. So thank you. And thank you to our elected officials. We want you to know we're going to be here 24/7. It's kind of how we roll in terms of the fight. We understand it, but we're so happy that you are standing, and we're happy that you took the stand. You know, we don't want you to think that we will ever forget what you did and what you have done in order that we could be in a fight, so that we could fight to win, in order that we can pray. So we can just pray our way through this as we always do. And we want you to know that we are going to do all of the work that we can to gather all of the people who we need in order to win this fight, the last fight that we're going through. The information that you gave us tonight was absolutely top of the hill. We needed to hear it. We need some more of it. We've got to work with it so that we're able to share it as well. But we want you to know you can depend on us. And I'd like to take a special opportunity to say thank you to Pamela. She's always with us, day, night, mornings, and now I found out weekends too. So Pamela, we appreciate you, and we just want you to know we are depending on you as we work with our elected officials. And note that everyone who is in a seat is our elected official. We want you to know we vote for you, even if we aren't able to mark a vote. You are marked in our hearts and in our heads. And when you hear the letters of NAACP, know that's your call, that you can turn around and see us fighting to ensure that you win, because when you win, we all win. Thank you again, Madam President. We want you to know to tell Mr. Russell, our chairman, that we are looking for him to keep his word. He made a request and he's got to push for it so that we can go into court like we love to do. When I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to go to court, and I'm ready right now. So thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to ask our own senator to pray us up out of here, if you will. Senator Osgood.
God, we thank you for this great assembly. We thank you, God, that you are our hope. And even in the midst of these dark times, in the midst of these times that make us weary, the midst of these times that even cause us to question your existence, we stand boldly in faith tonight, God, knowing that you're the same God yesterday, today, and forevermore. And what you have done in the past, you will do again. But God, we are people of faith. So we're coming tonight asking you to do exceedingly abundantly above anything we could ever think or ask in this situation. You know our struggle. You know our plight. You know the wrong and the injustice that's taking place. So we pray tonight, God, that you download your strategy into our hearts and our minds. Give us discernment and wisdom that we would do your will in the midst of this time, because you've already told us that weapons will be formed, but they would not prosper. And you've shown us that time and time again. So God, our prayer tonight is simply use us for your glory. What you're doing in this season, we make our hearts, minds, and bodies available to be the vehicles and the vessels that you would use. When we open up our mouth, speak to us, God. When our hands get busy, allow us to write, move our hands, God. When our feet get to marching or standing, have your way in the midst, God. And we'll continue to give you the glory. Strengthen us by your power and by your spirit, God, that we will stand as moral beings for you and represent you in this season, that you will get the glory. And God, we thank you tonight as we anticipate celebration and victory. We thank you tonight for being a kind of God that never leave us, never forsake us. And God, we know that every valley you take us to, you take us through. So we bless your name tonight. We give thanks and ask it all, and let the church say amen, amen, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.